This is a major AI update to Boston Dynamics, to their world of robotic dogs. The robot dog called Spot from Boston Dynamics can now independently open doors. So in the past, you had to manually control it for this task. I've actually tried it myself. It's like a Nintendo Switch device that you hold when you like press on buttons and stuff. But due to advanced machine learning, it can now move around warehouses or factories or retail stores or whatever without the need for constant human supervision. So Spot has gained some intelligence. It's got smarter. There's been a big update to it, and now it's able to operate a lot more freely without the need for humans being involved. Let's get your thoughts and reactions to this. Alex, what's your take when you see that clip?
Yeah, I think it's generally quite an impressive upgrade. I think the process of opening a door is quite challenging, and being able to do that purely from AI is very impressive. Instantly, there's lots of different types of door with many different types of handle, so I'd really love to see its performance across a broad range of categories. Other than that, I think it's quite good. I also really enjoyed in the article, they announced this alongside a kill switch being installed.
Okay.
And I really love this idea that there's always this tension between perceived utility and perceived threat.
Yeah.
And this idea that robots can now open doors. Oh God, don't worry, we've installed a kill switch.
Yeah.
It sort of reminded me of that episode of Doctor Who where the Daleks can suddenly fly, and you're no longer safe just by running up some stairs. You're no longer safe from robots just by closing a door in their face, which is
I always thought that with Daleks. I mean, like, they are great until they hit a curb, and then they're screwed. The doors point is really good because there are some doors they can't actually open. So, like those fire exit doors with like the big thing. I don't think it can do that sort of thing, but anything with like a grip, like a handle, there's a number of different combinations which it's able to do seamlessly. And I've seen many videos of it trying and succeeding really, really well, and like very quickly, 30 seconds, maximum across. Adrian, what's your take when you see that?
Well, first of all, about the doors, I think in the past the user was indicating where the hinge was.
Yeah, but basically,
so that's probably now learned through machine learning.
You press a button where it showed like an estimation where it was, and you just like tap it basically.
Exactly. Yeah. I think it's extremely complicated to do that.
Yeah.
So I think it's a big progress in terms of robotics. I also think that it opens up a lot of user cases which were not available beforehand, like going into buildings, opening doors. Helping patients in a hospital, transporting food to some people who are not capable of moving, all of that sort of stuff. So if we want to use the robots as a sort of, not a replacement, but as a help, they will have to do things that we do normally, naturally, and opening a door is one of the stuff that we do, I don't know how many times a day.
Yeah.
So I think it's a great thing. I like the switch.
Yeah.
Because beforehand there was only possibility in software to do it.
Sure.
Yeah. But like with the the elevators, you need a red button to stop if someone falls over. Yeah. There is some sort. So this idea of actually building in from scratch any sort of potentials to get into the sort of liability issues. Yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah, I'm all for the kill switch. I think that makes especially the way that
it's also a perception. Growing. It's a perception.
It's marketing. Yeah, people feel safer if they know they can turn it off. I like the point that you mentioned around hospitals. I didn't think of that use case. I think most of the time when I think of these robots, I think of a warehouse, I think of a factory, I think of some power plant, which is great. But if you have one perhaps in the hospital or in the home or in retail, helping people out, opening the door for them, hotels have door people. Why not have a robot doing it? That would bring in some interesting...
Carrying your luggage upstairs.
Absolutely. So we're starting to see robots become more and more applicable to day-to-day life rather than just commercial, manufacturing type applications. What's your view, Kojo, when you see this clip? What's your reaction?
My initial reaction whenever I see any Boston Dynamics clip, I go back to the Black Mirror episode with the killer dogs. Oh, yeah. I don't know if, given our space, I'm guessing most people have actually seen this, but
the black and white one.
Yeah, the black and white one. It was quite cinematic, beautiful episode. But yeah, I mean, as a human, it's interesting that we go to these kind of quite emotional places when we encounter these quite innovative pieces of technology.
Yeah.
When I see that specifically, I think very much like you said, I think widening consumer use cases and the potential for adoption in a sort of wider market is probably the initial thing that springs to mind. Although, fundamentally, I still think that the biggest value add that you're going to get with a lot of these things is probably more niche use cases, like, as you said, hospitals and construction work and inventory management in factories and all these things. I think we shouldn't understate actually the huge utility we get from those spaces. Outside of that, it is still a little bit scary, the advancement that we've been able to make in the advanced robotics space, I think.
Yeah. What about the jobs side? Because if this works, obviously this will replace millions of jobs globally.
Yeah.
In all types of areas. We're already seeing it with Amazon warehouses, for example, but other aspects of the world will be automated and replaced by machines. Obviously, it will create jobs for developers, for data experts, designers, but it will probably replace more jobs, certainly initially, than it will create. So what's your view on the job side of the coin, Adrian? What's your point of view?
Well, I think that's a trend that we can't go against. It will happen. I think what we can do is prepare for that. I think there will have to be a lot of retraining.
Yeah.
I think the power of any sort of robotic stuff is that they can do things that we can do much faster and with bigger precision.
Yeah.
This is not related to this robot, but for instance, our local hospital, which is Adam Brooks in Cambridge, has just received one of those extremely sophisticated surgical.
Oh yeah,
yes.
I spoke about them on the podcast a few weeks ago.
Yeah. And I'm quite happy because I contributed to the whole thing and stuff. And the idea is that you take repetitive, precise actions, and you do them in shorter time with higher precision, and that's something that will allow the people who are doing those things to do something else.
Yeah.
So that's one aspect of thing. The other one is this trend will continue. I mean, those robots are still very expensive. We're not going to see them everywhere yet. But once the stuff is out there and the technology is out there, you can expect the price to come down.
Absolutely. It will start really expensive and then it will become, normal, and everybody in the home will hopefully be able to afford one at some point. And you are correct in the respect that it will replace a lot of jobs, but ultimately those people can be retrained, those people can learn something else, and those people will ultimately find something else. I mean, that's happened throughout history with all innovation.
Exactly.
Well, what's your take, Kojo, on the job side of the equation?
Honestly, I think you just summarized my entire philosophy around this with that last sentence. It has happened throughout history. We would be fools to ignore that rich amount of history that we've got, where we've experienced this through various different aspects outside of even technology, right? So I think we shouldn't resist natural progression and evolution. The caveat is obviously we need to protect people, safeguards, regulation, smart people like ourselves, both working with and outside of government, just trying to do our best to protect people. But fundamentally, the utility society gets from these technological advances just can't be ignored. We improve everyone's lives on the whole. Yeah. Of course, we make mistakes along the way. As long as we are careful, I think I'm really comfortable with the direction that we're heading.
Yeah. And Alex, jobs, are you excited? Are you scared by what's going to happen? What's your point of view?
Yeah, I mean, I broadly agree with everything everyone else has said. I think it will displace some jobs, but replace some of them with higher value ones, fewer kitchen porters or whatever, and more robot engineer maintenance people, which generally are better paid. But kind of a more philosophical perspective is like the original promise of technology is supposed to be like ever increasing levels of productivity and quality of life for ever reduced amount of human labor. Yeah. Which is like a promise we've never really delivered on. We sort of increasingly just split society into the haves and the have-nots.
Sure.
So those who can and cannot do like the more technologically enabled jobs. So I think actually robotics and AI is probably going to be the technology that eventually bridges that gap and lets us kind of rethink how we model society, so we're not spending all of our time working, but we can like live to enjoy life more, which I think could be very exciting, but that is a way off.
We don't want the opposite end, like the Wall-E situation where we're just sitting in a chair and the machines are doing everything for it. I mean, some people might want that, but I mean, we need to find a balance, right? But I agree, like we create all this tech and then we don't slow down. We still keep going, but the tech just exponentially grows our activity.
That's a very interesting point because yes, you're expecting these technologies and they have been promised to, increase the quality of life, reduce the price of things, all of that sort of stuff. However, we have to be a little bit mindful of some of those technologies being affordable at the moment only for some rich enterprises.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at large language models and stuff like this, the computation power is only available to the likes of Microsoft, OpenAI, and all of those sort of stuff. So that there will have to be a separate trend that actually democratizes this by making, opening up, having open APIs and all of that sort of stuff. So that you can allow other people to benefit from that and build on top of that. Otherwise, we're going to create more of those sort of bubbles. And currently, the society is very polarized, and
you're right on the GPU front. Elon tweeted or X'd the other day, I should say, that GPUs are harder to find than drugs, and he's probably right. I mean, like it's
he's right. He's right, but he's also an exponent of that sort of end of
absolutely
technology.
Yeah.